This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Infinity Isle. On the left side, as our purple allied player, this is DDF. And on the right side, also as our allied player, but plain blue, it's Andrey, aka Never Cheese, who actually opening up with a barracks. It's not like power plant into airfield, at least not just yet. All right, losers bracket final of For the Win number 74. Of course, if you haven't seen the winners bracket final, you should go and check that out. It was an interesting series in many ways, but spoilers ahead because, of course, DDF did lose that winners bracket final and got knocked down to the losers bracket final, where Andrey was waiting, and the winner of this series will move on to a best of 7 in the grand final versus Pika. So we could have an AVA finals. Of course, as you probably have noticed, DDF deciding to play random in this series, drawing allies right out of the gate. And so I guess we could end up with an allies versus allies finals anyways. But I think we ended up with an AVA in the last tournament. I think For the Win 73 was Andrey versus another allied, maybe Happy in an allies versus allies series. Anyways, lots of peacekeepers coming out from both players. Refinery on the water for DDF, refinery on the high ground, and also potentially on the water based on that MCV position for Andrey. Lots of peacekeepers again from both sides. Oil derricks grabbed by both players. No fast airfields, no fast naval yards, no fast war factories. It is directly into a third refinery. Okay, it's actually going to be a naval yard down here. So no, it's not directly into a third refinery. It is a delayed naval yard there on the low ground in a very aggressive position versus DDF. DDF may not have actually realized that this is there. Multi-gunner turret also going to be going down. One thing that must be kept in mind is DDF and Andrey trade pretty evenly as far as I know most of the time, but Andrey is going to be more familiar with allies. Andrey is probably going to be the better AVA player, and so I think that would give him an advantage, although the random aspect of the match may give DDF an advantage in other games. But this one, I'm going to guess Andrey is going to feel pretty darn good about this. Still, no third refinery out from Andrey. Goes directly into the Tier 2, and he is going to be pushing forward with his Peacekeepers. Of course, we saw a multi-gunner turret get dropped down on the Andrey side of the map, and he used that Peacekeeper to push back his opponent. And, of course, Vindicator's actually going to be going down to save the refinery. He doesn't manage to do it. The Assault Destroyer also here for Andrey, going to be going for the crush of this Harvester, but he doesn't quite manage to get it. The front line has been held off for now. The Vindicator going to be used out on the water to try and shut down some of these attacks from Andrey. A couple of dogs in the north, and the Naval Yard does get sold off. The dog does indeed scout that for DDF, and he can reposition at least some of his forces back up to the center ridge and potentially get on with his day. It's 3 refinery versus 3 refineries. High ground on land for both players. The MCV packs up, and it's going to be a turret push for Andrey. Andrey, well known for his turret pushes. Love him or hate him, he is a turret-pushing monster. And, well, just not enough to kill off that power plant. Third Vindicator shows up to actually secure the kill on that power plant right there. And a couple of Vindicators taking a bit of damage from that Javelin Trooper, but the turret push has not actually happened. So he just repositioned his MCV so that he can have the option of turret pushing, but he's not necessarily going to turret push. But, you know, he probably will turret push. But we'll have to see. But he probably will. But we'll have to see. You gotta have enough power plants to be able to turret push, and, you know, losing power plants is a certain way to delay. This is still a fairly vulnerable position for a power plant. It's not like, you know, surrounded by, he does shrink down the Assault Destroyer. It's not surrounded by Javelin Troopers or multi-gunner turrets or anything. It is still, you know, you can swing in from this kind of south side. Cryocopter from DDF going to be going for a bit of harass, and going to be getting pushed away by, I assume, Javelin Troopers. Yeah, a whole group of Javelin Troopers showing up to do a bit of defense. And once again, power plant gets eliminated. The 3 Vindicator hit squad doing some serious work for DDF, putting a lot of pressure on Andrey. And War Factory also going to be coming down for Andrey here on the front lines. His turret push has been pretty... If he was indeed going for a turret push, it has been completely stopped. Cryocopter is going to be taking a little bit more damage from those Javelin Troopers. Should be able to escape and should be able to go back for some repairs. Once again, it looks like another power plant getting eliminated there. If DDF can keep this up, he may have to never actually fight Andrey. He'll just bankrupt Andrey purely through the building and destruction of power plants. And this is somehow actually working out as the Javelin Troopers are running one way and then the other, trying to deal with Cryocopters and not able to deal with the Vindicators as they've made pretty consistent bombing runs. A couple of IFVs now out on the front line, and this is going to make it that much more difficult to snipe down these power plants. But I think one more bombing run, and then the anti-air will be probably too much to make these bombing runs very safe. 3 IFVs now out on the front. Andrey, with his Dolphins, searching around to make sure that a water expansion has not been taken by DDF. And Guardian tanks going to be the choice potentially there for... Well, they are definitely the choice for Andrey, although I don't know that he's going for too many more of them. Up to Tier 3 goes DDF, so he has actually bought himself enough time. He's going for the cryo shot. He doesn't grab the IFVs. That would have been great if he did manage to grab the IFVs. And actually, is he going for... He's not going for anything. I thought he was going for a precision bomber strike or something, as Andrey moves in with his black hole armor on that assault destroyer and was trying to save that power plant, but then, you know, nothing actually happened. Javelin Trooper got ejected out of this structure, and, well, I guess that observation post is going to be targeted down by DDF. Tier 3 has been purchased by Andrey as well. His Athena cannon should be out momentarily, although it is a little bit slower than DDF's. Vindicators come in. They do go for the assault destroyer there, and it looks like one Vindicator may have gone down. Yes, one Vindicator did indeed get eliminated there. Mirage tank is out. Athena cannon for both sides. The assault destroyer going to be the heavy unit on Andrey's side, and the Mirage tank's going to be the heavy unit on DDF's side. That is one difference between them. Andrey never did get up that airfield. He never did get out any cryocopters. Still, Javelin Trooper is going to be running defense over there at the main base for Andrey, and DDF is looking to be in a pretty good position. Excuse me, a pretty good position, but he's definitely not out of the woods just yet. Vindicator is going to be chasing down a Dolphin and trying to eliminate it. Double Athena cannon and Mirage tanks. A lot of firepower, but not a lot of armor in this army. 3 cryocopters could definitely be the difference makers in any upcoming battle. And, you know, you got to spend the cash on the cryocopters. So you definitely want to make sure that you get some kind of use out of them. Aegis Shield does pop for Andrey, and he's going to be losing, it looks like, one of his Athena cannons. No, he does save it with the Aegis Shield from the other Athena cannon. So there's going to be the shrink down of those Athena cannons. One cryocopter goes down. I don't know if DDF will consider that worth it, as he loses a Vindicator as well. Andrey with the better defense than the offense of DDF. And DDF struggling to make something happen. It looks like Andrey is just happy to play defense. And in this case, it's going to work out with the Guardian, or with the black hole armor from the assault destroyer, and then also the Athena cannon's Aegis Shield. This is actually going to be fine. He is going to have to burn another Aegis Shield. Cryo shot firing off somewhere. It is going to be absorbed here by, it looks like, the Aegis Shield or the black hole armor, as everything does manage to escape for both sides. But Andrey is just playing like 2% better with these Athena cannons, and that is going to be enough to give him a pretty solid advantage. 2 of these palm trees are indeed Mirage tanks. These 2 are not. And this is where things can start to tip into the favor of Andrey. He is the one who's been doing better with these Athena cannons, and the EMP locks down, it looks like, one Athena cannon, the other ones were out of range, and managing to sneak out an aircraft carrier is exactly the sort of thing that DDF needs to do. Stepping forward now with his Peacekeepers, he's going to try and close the distance on one Athena cannon. The second one does manage to escape. No! He catches it with his own Athena cannons as the multi-gunner turret going to be going down. Guardian tank steps forward, but that's a mistake, as it can't really necessarily do much to clear out this front line. One Athena cannon going down on the barrage tank, step into the fray, and Andrey, again, with some heavy armor, but the EMP could be the decider in this entire engagement. Andrey now falling apart as the cryoblast fires off. It gets absorbed by the Aegis Shield. Cryocopter's going to be coming forward, and Andrey, his entire army may just get eaten up by the superior forces of DDF, and in a couple of moments, the whole thing turns around. Even if the Peacekeepers came out even, DDF would have a huge advantage in the next fight. GG gets called, and Andrey will drop game number 1 in this series. DDF with a very slow build and then a burst right at the end for the win. So let's jump into game number 2 to find out how this series continues. Will DDF continue his, his allied dominance against an allied player, or will Andrey strike back? Which takes us to Fire Island in the north as our purple empire. It's DDF. And in the south as our blue allies, it's Andrey. DDF rolling the dice, getting Empire, of course, up 1-0 in a best of 3 does indeed mean that he just needs to win one more game to advance to the grand finals and a rematch with Pika. But, well, if Andrey has anything to say about it, he's going to say it with a fast airfield right out of the gate. A couple of dojos out on the field for DDF, and DDF knows at this point with that Vindicator timing that this is indeed a fast airfield. His burst drone will double confirm that, and it's a 4-dojo opener. So this is a fairly expensive opener, and most of the time, the, potential additional infantry production does not win you the game. The game is won by Defender Corps or Tengus or Strikers, generally against fast airfield. That was also a mistake. DDF just giving away 500 credits there. I don't know, maybe he was assuming that Andrey wasn't paying attention. He, of course, does get this oil derrick in the south, but the MCV now repositioned. Tier 2 has not been purchased, but may be researching right now. And this may not actually be a cryo rush from Andrey. Indeed, it is not. So, maybe not. The 4-dojo opener might be totally fine now that it's not a cryo rush. So, could be absolutely nothing going on there. Second power plant comes up, and the MCV moves to the third refinery location. No second oil derrick, although there is an additional dojo now being produced and going to be heading out. Andrey does indeed spot that, and Vindicators may be called in to deal with that, although he does also have to deal with this dojo here, which I think is going to try and block the refinery. No, we may just go for the refinery block on land. And curiously enough, he's going for an additional dojo not to grab the oil derrick, so DDF is going to try and go for the crush, which would kind of put him on even footing in terms of engineers killed. But multi-gunner turret will push away this dojo core, and for some reason it's not attacking the dojo core. I think it might be just kind of bugged behind the building there a little bit there. 5 Tengus out on the field for... Yep, well, there we go. No oil derrick for either one of these players. Third ore refinery going to be getting established here for Andrey. And 6 Tengus, now 7 out on the map. No tier 2 for DDF. He's just holding with this Tengu production and should be getting up his tier 2 relatively soon. But also, his third refinery needs to be coming up relatively soon. He's going for the harass. Single Tengu drops down, and he's just going to kind of skirt right on the edge of these multi-gunner turrets. First multi-gunner turret in the north is still here, so there's a little bit of a net being created by Andrey. of multi-gunner turrets. One Apollo takes a lot of damage but does not go down, and all of the Tengus do escape at the current moment. MCV still not repositioned. Still no third refinery. A little bit of a scouting peacekeeper, just going to be keeping an eye on things. And the MCV repositioned there for Andrey, of course. No Tier 2, but it is repositioned in such a way to grab a water expansion and Tier 2 to that airfield. So cryocopters still potentially on the menu for Andrey. Apollo's getting caught and taking a lot of damage, but not enough to get eliminated. He will send that home, get some repairs. Tengu's not going to be in a position to fly over and kill that engineer. Would be nice if he could get the kill on that engineer, but severely delaying the capture of that oil derrick is, you know, almost as good. A couple of Tengus going to be getting split off for Harvester Harass, and these Apollos may finally get eaten up by these Tengus. Trading out 2 Tengus for an Apollo is never something that you feel good about as an Empire player, and losing a 3rd Tengu to that Vindicator just makes you feel even worse. Third refinery finally going to be coming up for DDF, but he's going to be losing an additional Tengu and hasn't yet killed off this Harvester. Is going to be sacrificing a Tengu to try and get the kill on the Harvester with the honorable discharge. He will indeed get it, but that's like trading out, I don't know, was that 4 or 5 Tengus? I guess it's about to be 5. Trades out 5 Tengus to get 1 kill on a Harvester. Definitely not worth it in a cost-effective sense. And still, it looks like no Tier 2 from DDF. So, as this game continues on, our allied player, Andrey, getting up his 4 refineries, being far more efficient in the engagement, and actually going double airfield, which will give him the potential to pump out a ton of Apollos and then still have his 3 Vindicators. And 5 Apollos is difficult for any number of Tengus to fight, especially before point defense drones have been upgraded. Another Tengu goes down. Keeping those Tengu numbers low, especially when your opponent has delayed their Tier 2 by this much, really hurts their standing army. And in this case, DDF's standing army is considerably weaker than it would be otherwise. And since DDF doesn't have a great ability to end the game anytime soon, that it does not bode well for him in the rest of this game. 6 Apollos. Overwatch on these Tengus. The Tengus would definitely be able to kill one of these Apollos, but, you know, the return to base is good enough that most of the time the Apollos will survive. 1 Apollo survives 2, and trading out these Tengus just feels pointless, as another, actually 1 Apollo does end up going down, but trades it out for 3 or so Tengus. And again, a cost-efficient trade for our allied player who gets up his armor facility, but again, no Tier 2. So a very delayed Tier 2 after 4 refineries, after 2 airfields, after a war factory. Cryocopter's not the choice for winning the game. And I mean, I assume he's going to build some cryocopters now, and he's going to get some Guardian tanks out and all of those normal sorts of things. But for now, Andrey has just been engaging wisely. He's been careful about his choices. The MCV now repositioned for DDF, but he's been behind in the economy game for a long time. He's now tried twice to recapture these oil derricks, and it's just not working out. The Tengus are going to even miss the kill on that Vindicator. Things are coming up Andrey. And certainly cost-effectiveness, cost-efficiency is not the end-all, be-all. No cryocopters in production. There might actually be no cryocopters out on the map. Andrey is doing this without cryocopters so far. Okay, there we go. It looks like we've got 1 cryocopter on the way. Apollo's going to be engaging Tengus here near the 3rd base of our Empire player, and it looks like most of the Apollos will escape. The low health ones continue on to the base and trading out more and more Tengus. Without the close distance micro, this just never turns out in favor. And DDF giving away 1, basically 2 more. He has been defeated. GG gets called. And you can't give away Tengus absolutely forever and then expect to still have an army to fight the other guy. That was a rough game for DDF. Some poor decisions, but just like once you get behind in that Apollo Tengu game, it is hard to take good engagements. And because he never went up to Tier 2, he never had the cryocopters to either force the Apollos away or force more cost-efficient trades. And it's like, of course, once you get the strikers, then you do have to deal with the problem of Vindicators trying to come in and make bombing runs against your strikers. But even if the Apollos have to dive in on the strikers after the strikers transform to avoid the Vindicators, then the Tengus can take a much more favorable engagement against those Apollos. And just the way that the dice rolled this time with Libra not going Tier 2, maybe he should have, but even so, not going Tier 2, oh my gosh. That is a crazy kill-to-death ratio. And yeah, not going Tier 2, that is the eventuality that we are left with. It's just a far, far more efficient Andrey, who basically never took a bad engagement in that game. Even in the score up 1-1, no cryocopter shenanigans, just good old-fashioned strategic planning, I guess, or maybe just Porsche planning on DDF's part. That will do it for game number 2. That means we have an ace match in this best of 3 to get to. Game number 3 is coming right up. Which takes us to Battle Base Beta for the decider match in this series in the South. As our blue allied player, this is Andrey. And in the North, as our purple Soviets, it's DDF. A perfect distribution of random. One Allied game, one Empire game, and now one Soviet game. Barracks. Power plant refinery. This is not a power plant into airfield kind of a build. Andrey is indeed playing this somewhat more standard. DDF with 5 or 6 conscripts pumping out onto the map. He did just go single barracks. Some players do like to go double barracks as an opening, try and control the middle of the map. And of course, the nice thing playing Soviets is you can control the middle of the map usually far more cost effectively than your allied counterpart, especially when it comes to clearing the buildings. They're going to be spending basically double the cash to secure those buildings. Airfield going to be our transition point and our first vehicle production structure, as I assume he's getting another power plant before moving his MCV. But Andrey showing a very solid game number 2, and now DDF back in the saddle with Soviets. Drops a second power plant before moving his MCV, so no super reactor. He, of course, does have that war factory. A couple of sickles, maybe some bullfrogs should be in order. And I guess we can see right through the floor of that war factory. But both players did, of course, grab their oil derricks, and both players going for high ground expansions as well. Refinery coming up for DDF right away. So again, no super reactor. He's just relying on his tier 1 units that he has right now. A couple of sickles, a couple of conscripts, and of course, his 3 safety bullfrogs. 2 Vindicators coming in. Not going to actually choose to engage. Again, the building's being cleared quite easily by our Soviet player, and Andrey just delaying this army a little bit more with these peacekeepers, but this is purely a delay tactic. Refinery's coming up for both players, and Tier 2 might be the next thing in order for Andrey. Get himself... Okay. He packs up his MCV. He could just be going for a straight turret push, but normally you get at least 1 cryocopter to accompany this. Super reactor coming up. The dog does see this, so Andrey is going to be aware of pretty much everything that DDF has going on. Not that he's doing anything particularly secret or particularly unusual. MCV will be scouted, or spotted rather, relatively soon here, and could even get infected, although I think the Peacekeepers and the Vindicators will prevent that from happening. Forcing the MCV to unpack here in the middle of the map. DDF is actually going to be trying to match this, curiously enough. He's heading right to the forefront with his own MCV. 2 Vindicators, it looks like, going down. Yeah, 2 of them do survive. Could go ahead and replace those with Apollos, but it's 3 refinery versus 3 refinery, and of course barracks versus barracks. But The allied player has the advantage of the whack-a-mole system, so they get everything spawning in with full health. One hammer tank out on the field. A second one should be joining it relatively soon. No, he doesn't have the cash. This is kind of the problem that sometimes you run into. Of course, as the Soviet player in this situation, he is indeed prioritizing the Tesla coil. I think it got canceled. It did look like it insta-killed, so I think he canceled it. He got the cash back. And the Vindicators do take a little bit of damage there, but not enough to really be dealt with. And this is now a 2 multi-gunner situation, and this is sort of a run-out-the-clock situation for DDF. He needs to get out of here. He's going to snipe the engineer, which is nice, but he needs to just, like, get walls up or something. He needs to buy time. He needs to delay this game from really progressing, and he needs to delay Andrey from being able to do any more damage. 4 Vindicators coming in for another bombing run. Going to be able to clean up 2 hammer tanks, or his hammer tank and a sickle and a bullfrog, as there wasn't actually a second hammer tank ever produced. The MCV now pulled back. The ground army for DDF is essentially non-existent. And again, this is one of those delay tactics. The barracks is a potential delay tactic. Here are the walls going to try and cut off those Javelin troopers from being able to finish off that ore refinery. Another barracks is going to be going down. If it does get eliminated, that's just cash down the drain. But of course, nothing actually being produced out of that war factory. So this is pretty much it. He's just going to try and do this with bears, which is a difficult situation, especially once the Vindicators come back in for an additional bombing run. Tesla coil going to be coming up for DDF. And again, these barracks, an excellent delay tactic here for DDF. He has enough bears now out on the field. He actually lets that barracks finish, which is definitely a mistake here. The Vindicator's taking damage, but no losses, as he's going to absorb a little bit more damage. A multi-gunner turret going down, and of course the Tesla coil got eliminated. A reactor going to be protecting this Conyard, but this is going from bad to worse for DDF, and he is low on cash. I don't know if that reactor has got paused intentionally or if it was just out of cash, and it looks like he may have even paused it intentionally just to get the Tesla coil out and to body block for his structures. He is going to be forcing these multi-gunner turrets to attack the reactors instead of the Tesla coil, but there's going to be the cryo shot, and another Vindicator bombing run going to be coming in here will eliminate that Tesla coil. This is just cash down the drain, and he doesn't even need all of the Vindicators to do it. One Vindicator goes down, but the other 3 manage to escape, and once again, DDF unable to stop this attack. He has no ground army. And as Tesla coils are getting struck down one after the other, the super reactor barely alive, and these multi-gunner turrets being forced to change target time and time again. Satellites being called in almost directly on top of his own MCV, as even in the back, Tesla coil is not safe. An engineer going to be putting this MCV under threat, forcing it to pack up, and no, it's a Javelin trooper to help finish it off. Goodbye, DDF. His tournament run will almost certainly end here as his MCV goes down. His super reactor is under threat, and he has no third refinery. Everything's coming up Andrey. And unfortunately for DDF, that will do it. A very rough end to game number 3, but a good showing other than that for him in this tournament. And we are going to get an Andrey versus Pika Grand Final. 2 allied players against each other. And like it or not, that is the way this one turned out. Thank you all very much for watching. Condolences, of course, to DDF, who showed some good games, but that last 2 falling down a little bit there, unfortunately. And he is a very good player most days of the week, but I don't think he was necessarily showing his best here, or he was just caught a little bit off guard. Unfortunately, that's how it goes. Congratulations, of course, to Andrey advancing to the Grand Finals. And in just a day or 2 from your perspective, unless it's already out, we're going to see how that Grand Finals goes between Andrey and Pika. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and this is Sybert signing out.